How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do my last individual profile of the day. Today is January 7th, so four of the players on my list have birthdays today, and the oldest out of the four is Eden Hazard. The elite Belgian forward for Real Madrid. And for this individual profile, I'm going to give you my justification and my reasoning for why I think that he is a player that stands way above other players that play his position at the top level of soccer. And just going into 2021, he's going to be a player to watch, and he's built up such an amazing resume up until now that I think that I think that this profile should provide a little insight as to why I'm going to be referring to Eden Hazard as elite throughout the year until I take him off the list. But if you're unfamiliar with Eden Hazard, he stands at about 5'9", and he definitely dominated the Premier League for a few years, and he's now trying to take his talents to La Liga. But ever since he's gotten to Real Madrid, he's been there for about 2 years. He's been there for about a couple of years now. He's just been injury prone. He's never really got a chance to play for a good stretch of the season and actually show what he's very, very capable of. But he is a player that, when healthy, is an incredible talent, and he's going to show everyone the reason why he actually earned Ronaldo's number 7. Why he's going to be the player that wears number 7 after Ronaldo made his move to Juventus. So just to give you a little bit of background, Eden Hazard is with today being January 7th, 1991. Eden Hazard is now officially 30 years old. He's from La Louvière, Belgium, and he would through his youth career, he'd find himself end up at Lille. So at Lille, he get called up in about 2017 or 2007, 2008. I'm sorry, because he's a little bit older. When he was 16, he got called up. He played 4 matches for Lille, where they finished 7th in Ligue 1. But he didn't get a lot of playing time. But of course, he was able to play. He played most of that time with Lille B. And then he eventually got called up and got a chance to play a couple of games. Just got to play a couple of games and run around and just become the young player that he was. In his next season, in his 2008-2009 season, his age 17 season, where he turned 18, he would help Lille finish with the 5th best record in La Ligue or in Ligue 1. In 30 matches played, he would get 13 starts, and he would finish with 4 goals and an assist. And then in this season, Lille would finish with they just finished 5th in Ligue 1. Nothing else that really kind of came out of it. But Eden Hazard was showing that even as a 17-year-old, the ability to do that in Ligue 1 is pretty unmatched, and the fact that he was able to do it with the ease that he was able to do it just shows how amazing of a young player he was. So in 2009, 2010 is where they actually started recording some of the good stats. This is when Eden Hazard actually started to pick up his game a little bit. So in 2009, 2010, when he was 18, or in his age 18 season, he helped Lille finish with the 4th best record in Ligue 1. And then in 37 matches played, he finished with 5 goals, and he finished with 7 assists. He also finished with 3 yellow cards, but I don't know if that really matters. In a season where he helped Lille finish with in addition to that, they finished in the round of 16 in Europa League, but they were still able to do so in such a great game, as Eden Hazard was starting to show that as a young player, he could be a very important piece of that team. In 2009 and in 2010, he was named the Young Player of the Year in Ligue 1. And that that kind of carried into his very next season. So in 2010, 2011, in his age 19 season with Lille, he helped them win Ligue 1 outright. They won Ligue 1. He would start 35 games and play 38 total matches. He would finish with 7 goals and 8 assists, while helping Lille get to the round. While Lille was bounced in the round of 32 in Europa League, but Eden Hazard was getting them there. So in his final season in Lille, in his 2011-2012 season, his age 20 season, he would help Lille finish 3rd in Ligue 1. He finished with 35 starts and 38 matches played. He finished with 20 goals and 15 assists, 9 of them off penalty kicks. He had 9 goals off penalty kicks. And after scoring 20 goals and 15 assists, he proved that he was too valuable to stay at Lille. But at the same time, in his final season, they would end up they would get bounced in group stage of Champions League. But Eden Hazard was able to win the after winning the French Cup and the French Championship, Chelsea would end up taking him, and they would have him starting in their lineup, or starting in their starting 11 for 2012-2013. So in 2012-2013, in Eden Hazard's age 21 season, he started 31 out of the 34 games in a season where Chelsea would end up finishing third in the Premier League. He finished with 9 goals and 11 assists in his first season in his first overall season in the Premier League, and overall he would finish with 16 assists as a whole, and just helping Chelsea get to the season that they did. They finished third, and they finished third overall, but they did end up winning the Europa League in 2013, and Eden Hazard was actually there for that. Even though Fernando Torres was the leading scorer, Eden Hazard wouldn't lead the team in scoring until the very, very next year. But that's where Eden Hazard was when he first got there, and he was still 21. Very, very young when he did this. So in 2013-2014, in his age 22 season, he would help Chelsea finish third in the Premier League for the second time. He started 32 matches. He finished with 14 goals and 7 assists. The first time he'd ever scored double-digit goals in a Premier League season. He had 4 penalty kicks as well. And also in this season, in 2014-15, they would finish as runners-up in the UEFA Super Cup after they won Europa League. They finished in the semifinals of Champions League, and Eden Hazard with 7, and he actually led the team with 17 total goals on the season. Great overall season for him, beginning to end, as he also scored 2 goals in Champions League as well. And in 2014, he made the Belgian team and went to the World Cup in Brazil, where they would lose in their second game in the knockout stages, but he would finish with 2 assists as a whole within the tournament. Moving on to, and then following the World Cup, going into his 2014-2015 season, in his age 23 season, he would help Chelsea win the Premier League. This is the first time they'd won it. And in the 38 matches that he'd start, he finished with 14 goals and 9 assists and 3 penalty kicks, being one of the leading scorers for Chelsea. As in addition to winning that, they were able to win the Football League, the FA Cup final. Diego Costa was the leading scorer, but Eden Hazard was helping a ton on the wing, helping them get there. And with this, they were able to. This is the first Champions League that they'd win, the only English League Cup that he was able to win since he'd gotten there. And it was a pretty good. It was a pretty good prize considering he had lost the FIFA World Cup the year before. So going into his 2015-2016 season, in his age 24 season, he was a big part of Chelsea, finishing 10th in the Premier League. He started 25 matches out of the 31 games that he played. He finished with 4 goals and 3 assists in the entirety of the season. Not his best overall season, and in the season they would finish as runners up in the Community Shield. That's what they came closest to, as Diego Costa led the team in scoring. Not Eden Hazard's best season, but it was a season plagued with injury. But in Euro qualifiers, he was able to score 5 goals. But in the next year, he was able to bring it right back. So in 2016-2017, following the Europe Championships, in his age 25 season for Chelsea, he was able to help Chelsea win the Premier League again after finishing 10th the year prior. This is the 3rd time he'd won a league title, the second time he'd won the Premier League. He'd start 36 matches and he'd finish with 16 goals and 5 assists, 16 goals being the most goals he'd ever score in the Premier League up through that date. And in addition to that, he was able to help Chelsea finish runners-up in the FA Cup final. And they completely missed out on Champions League, but they were able to jump right back up and win the Champions League, as Diego Costa was the leading scorer and Eden Hazard was a big help along the way. And this was a very big day for them, as they were able to, or big season for them, as they were able to win the Premier League for the second time in his career. And Eden Hazard led the offensive side in a pretty big way. And then jumping out to 2017-2018, and because he had to work his way back up because he was hurt, but then once in his age 26 season in the Premier League, he helped Chelsea finish 5th in the league with 28 starts and 34 matchups. He finished with 12 goals and 4 assists in this season, and he also had 3 goals in Champions League and 3 assists in 8 matchups. In this season, Chelsea would also go on to win the FA Cup final. This is the second, and this would be the second year that Eden Hazard would lead Chelsea in all-out goals scored, because Diego Costa would go to Atletico Madrid following this. But Eden Hazard, still being on the team, would be the team's leading scorer. And then the following season in 2019, in Eden Hazard's final year in Chelsea, he helped Chelsea finish third in the Premier League with 32 games started and 37 matches played. He had 16 goals and 15 assists, the first time he was able to finish with double-digit goals and assists since his final year in Ligue 1. He was able to do so in his finale in the Premier League as well. In addition to the 16 goals and 5 assists, he was able to add 3 goals in the League Cup. Finishing him with 22 goals and 17 assists for the entire season. This would be the third season that he finished with 20 goals and 10 assists over an entire season. And the fifth time he finished with at least 12 Premier League goals in a season. And also in 2018-2019, Chelsea was able to win the Europa League for the second time since Eden Hazard has been there. So just doing all the most of what he can, and he was showing that he could be Chelsea. He was a very, very big piece and Chelsea won a lot of trophies while he was there. I mean, since he's been there, they've won 6 trophies. They won 2 Europa Leagues. They've won 2 Premier Leagues. They've won a Football League Cup final, and they were able to win the FA Cup final as well, with Eden Hazard being there. So following that, Eden Hazard would take his talents to Real Madrid, and then in the next season, his age 28 season, he would start 14 of 16 matches in La Liga in a season where Real Madrid would end up winning the league for the first time in a bit. Actually, they won. They won the last time in 2017, so a win here was pretty big. And they were also able to win the Supercopa de España as Karim Benzema was the leading scorer. But, of course, Eden Hazard was out for a lot of the games that he played. He only played 16 of them. He finished with 1 goal and 3 assists for the entirety of the season while wearing Cristiano Ronaldo's number 7. And not much going for him. But for this season in 2020, following the following all the efforts that have gotten him here, he's only started 3 matches and played 5 games this season. And Real Madrid is currently sitting second in La Liga behind Atletico Madrid by about 2 points. And at the same time, they've also played 2 more points, and that they've also played 2 more games. But in this season, Eden Hazard only has a goal to his name. But going into the season, he's a player that when he's not completely injured, he's one of the best players in the world. He's an active player in the goals and the assist department. And as soon as he gets back to playing, I mean, the wing is there for him to take. But, of course, he has to be completely healthy. But this is still the same player that got a start at 16 at Lille. Earned his way into the starting lineup as a teenager, helped them win the Ligue 1, and then in his final year, he finished with 20 goals and 15 assists. He did the same thing with Chelsea, where he helped them win the Europa League, scoring goals and assists left and right to help them eventually build up, and in his final year, he finished with double-digit goals and assists. And his start at Real Madrid has been a little bit rocky, and it has been shaped by the injuries that have defined his Real tenure, but no, I mean, as soon as he's fully healthy for 2021, Eden Hazard is definitely a player to keep your eye on, and he is a very valuable player when it comes to ensuring that a team wins when he's doing his job. And with that said, I want to thank you once again for listening to my 14-minute piece. Eden Hazard is the number 7 for Real Madrid, which has a lot of responsibility behind it with the number and with the club. But he is also a player that has shown that when the lights shine on him the brightest, he has been able to produce. He's been able to produce offense that have helped his teams win their respective leagues. He's a 3-time league champ. He's won the Europa League twice. The only thing he's chasing is Champions League. And now playing on a team as Real Madrid, he's on a team where he can do it. As of right now, he's 30 years old. He is officially entering his 30s. And now we're here to see whether he ages well into his 30s, or we're going to see whether his injuries kind of take over the latter part of his career. I want to thank you guys once again, and hopefully I have an Eden Hazard elite profile next year. And with that said, I hope all is well. I want to thank you guys once again for listening to my piece. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. And the next profile I will do will be on the 9th when I cover Marcus Peters. And on that day, he will be a 28-year-old starting cornerback for the Baltimore Ravens. And this will be right before their playoff game, or probably, this will be right before their playoff game. But with that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to my piece beginning to end, and just peace out. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in a couple of days with another profile.